Welcome to Story Time. Tonight's journey takes us to the village of Nothing Much, where life drifts as quietly as a gentle breeze, and peace settles like the softest blanket. Let this tale guide you to the quiet and the calm. Nestled between rolling hills and a lazy river, there lay a small village that didn't quite have a name. Most simply called it the village of Nothing Much. It wasn't that the village didn't have charm, it was charming in a quiet, unassuming way. Here, time seemed to flow differently, where minutes and hours melted together, where each day drifted into the next with a rhythm so gentle that you could almost forget you were counting time at all. In the village of Nothing Much, mornings began with the softest glow of the sun slipping over the hills, painting the stone houses and tidy gardens with hues of gold and rose. The air carried the faint scent of lavender from the nearby fields, and in the distance, birds would start their morning songs, welcoming another day of simple moments and quiet beauty. People in the village moved with a slow, careful ease, as if hurrying was a forgotten art. Old Mr. Bennett, the baker, would open his shop just after dawn, and the aroma of freshly baked bread filled the narrow cobblestone streets. Some mornings, you'd find him sitting on the bench outside his bakery, watching the fog lift from the valley below. A stray cat might curl up beside him, and he'd reach down to give it a gentle pat, his wrinkled face soft with contentment. At the heart of the village was a small, round pond, shaded by an ancient willow tree that had watched over the villagers for generations. This willow had seen more days than anyone could count, and its thick, gentle branches dipped low over the pond, creating a canopy of green that danced and swayed in the slightest breeze. The villagers, young and old, would sometimes sit on the pond's edge, trailing their fingers in the cool water, as if the quiet ripples might tell them secrets. In this little haven, the world was gentle. Days were marked by the soft sounds of everyday life, the creak of a gate swinging open, the faint chime of the village clock, and the occasional laughter of children playing in the fields. Evenings brought the warm glow of lamps in the windows, casting soft light into the twilight as the village settled into stillness. One quiet evening, Lila, a young woman who had recently returned to the village, found herself by the willow tree, gazing out over the pond. She had traveled to bustling cities and towering mountains, yet something about this village, with its gentle pace and quiet ways, had called her back. Sitting there under the willow's branches, she felt as if she'd never left. The familiar sights and sounds of the village were like a lullaby, a soft melody of home that brought a calm unlike anything she'd found in her travels. As she sat, she noticed a soft ripple on the pond, barely disturbing the stillness. It was as though the pond itself breathed, slow and steady, mirroring the gentle rhythm of the village. A cool breeze rustled through the willow's leaves, and Lila closed her eyes, letting the peaceful air wash over her. She felt the worries of the outside world slip away, each one drifting into the quiet of the night like the ripples on the pond. A light mist began to gather, softening the edges of the village, blending the houses, the hills, and the fields into a world that felt both timeless and untouched. The stars began to peek through the sky above, twinkling faintly as if they too had settled in for a peaceful night. Sitting there, Lila felt a quiet sense of gratitude for the simplicity of this place. The village of Nothing Much wasn't famous or remarkable, but it held a beauty that could only be seen by those who slowed down to see it. Here, there was no rush, no noise, only the gentle embrace of stillness. The village, with its soft lights and gentle sounds, was a place where dreams felt close, as if the veil between the waking world and the world of sleep was a mere breath away. As the night deepened, Lila rose from her place by the pond and began the slow walk back to her little cottage. She moved through the village, passing by windows where lamps cast a warm glow, illuminating the quiet lives within. She could hear the faint sounds of voices, laughter, the occasional clink of dishes as families settled in for the night. It was a soft symphony, a quiet lullaby that seemed to carry her along. When Lila reached her cottage, she opened the door, the creak echoing softly in the stillness. She slipped into her cozy bed, the linens cool and comforting against her skin. She let out a deep breath, her body sinking into the softness, her mind drifting with the gentle rhythm of the village. She could still hear the faint sounds outside, the whisper of the wind, the soft murmur of the night animals, the distant chime of the village clock. As her eyes closed, she felt as if the village itself were watching over her, its quiet presence a gentle reassurance. The village of nothing much held her in its embrace, its quiet beauty a balm to her tired heart, its stillness a reminder of all the peace that lay within reach. And with that, Lila drifted into sleep, carried by the gentle lullaby of the village, a place where dreams felt close, and peace was as simple as breathing.
Thanks for your time. Please subscribe. Don't forget to press the bell icon for more.